YouTube? It's Mike here. Welcome down to my dungeon. I got a furnace here and I got a hot water heater. This hot water heater, well, I guess first of all, this basement. I don't know if you can tell looking in here. This is old stone foundation. There's a busted out old window. You can see it's on average 24 inches thick. The outer walls, and if you look around, you can see like the floor, I think, was kind of an afterthought. And also knowing what the ground is like underneath this house, I'm curious as to whether it's the same height as it used to be, or if the amount of fill that's been moved around has made a difference. But I do get relatively regular flooding. In fact, I'll bring you over here and you can see I've got a little trench here, and it kind of runs consistently. What happened the other day, well, I guess what happened 7 years ago, I guess when I moved here, I didn't realize that this was a flood zone. It was the one dry time. I've had one other one since where I got nervous about my well, where the basement didn't run water through it all the time. My sump pump runs fairly regularly, but it's pushing how much I would like to have it run. One of my thoughts actually was to just put everything up a little bit higher. Would almost have to go to the main floor, and then just let her flood down here. The other day it flooded up to about, I'm trying to think what the height was. It was probably closer to 12 inches. I know it was up in this range. It would have been over the element of this hot water heater, and it's up on a block that I've managed to just hammer together with some goop and junk and tile and whatever. So what this video is mostly about is this censor, which is your flammable vapor censor. And what happened was, and I've had this water heater's only been flooded once or twice. The other one had been flooded a few times that I had last, and the other one I managed actually to relocate the sensor up, and it had a different control on it. Now this hot water heater is a General Electric. It's got this Honeywell controller. This thing's a bit irritating because to reset it, if this, say like this flooded, so I got the water out of the basement, let this drain off and everything, and checked, and once it was kind of dried out, what I did was I plugged the machine back in, the hot water heater, flicked this off and on once or twice. I flicked it on to see if it would just take off on its own. It wouldn't, so I had to reset it. Now if you're used to the one with the push toggles up and down or whatever, you know that you hold the pair in for a period of time and then it resets and whatever. Well, this Honeywell with this dial on it, and it's pretty tough to even find. I think the first time I tried to reset this thing, I looked all over the internet for probably a day or two before I even figured it out. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. But basically you turn it up, you flick it off and on, hit it on, and you go all the way up to very hot and all the way down to very low. And you do that about 3 times. And you can actually notice the indicator light will show you that it's resetting. So what happened this morning is I went to get a shower and it was all cold water, and that makes me really frustrated and irritated. Came down, pulled out my flammable vapor sensor, ran my multimeter across it, realized it was a complete open circuit. Somewhere in the course of shaking it around, I found a little piece of stuff came out of it that was like a piece of corroded metal or something. So whatever it is with this one compared to the other water heater, like the other one, I think it just kept, if things flooded up to the sensor or whatever, I want to say that it would dry out and it wouldn't corrode. This other one corroded and actually came apart internally, so it was showing a completely open circuit. My status light let me know that it was flashing 8 times, pausing, a single flash, pausing, and then 8 flashes again, and following that pattern. And basically that tells me that there's a fault in this thing. Not that it's sensing flame, but that it's no good, which is nice, because I do have, this does have a chart here. This has all your flashes and everything else. So it was giving me the 8 flash, 1 flash, which is the fault detected. The other one that it gave me when I was flooded was 7 flashes with a 3-second pause, and that is flammable vapor sensor lockout, which means basically it was wanting to tell me that it had sensed a flammable vapor, which I knew was actually just water. So anyway, it's Saturday. I couldn't find anything for this. I got hunting around because this thing, I need to replace it. Got on the internet and checking things out. Unfortunately, out of all the extra hot water heaters I keep around that are natural gas like this one, I didn't find anything that was would have been able to just go in place. And I'm not even concerned myself, just being me, with the actual hole. What I was looking for was a flammable vapor sensor, and I would have thought that one of my old gas hot water heaters would have had one, but it didn't. So for now, being as I know there's no flammable vapors down here, I do have a fish pond right here next to me because it floods, so what the heck, may as well throw my goldfish down here for the winter. Got looking around, I tried a bunch of different things. Now I always, for some reason, when I disassemble things, which I do quite often, I save a lot of like electronic doodads. So I got looking through my stuff. I found out that I needed, and I was guesstimating because I couldn't find any information on this exact Honeywell unit. I could only find it on other units. So I knew I needed a resistor, and then it was a matter of finding the correct resistance. Now I knew I needed above 5 kilo ohm and below 70 or something like that. So anyway, I tried, and I may do another part and show you the other two I tried for the resistors. But this one, I believe, was on my 200 kV scale. This one was reading between 14 and 15 ohms resistance. Sorry. And so this one managed to work. I tried one higher and one lower, and then I realized I needed something in between, because both of them, one was, when I was too low on resistance, this thing would give me the 8 flash, 1 flash, which is telling me there's a fault. So that means my resistance is too low. And then when I tried the last one before this one, it was giving me the 7 flash and pause, and that's telling me that the resistance is too high and that it's reading vapor. So then I found this one. I want to say the one was 22 and the other one was 5. The other thought I had, this was my next plan, I found this little guy here, little adjustable, and I ran a few tests on him. I didn't have to use him. He would have been a little bit tougher to hook in. I mean, this definitely isn't a great setup, but for temporary fix, and it works, and I'm going to be able to have a shower and do dishes and all that jazz for now, for the weekend. That's great. So yeah, that's working. Wet basements are always a pain. If you get one of these things, like I say, there's not a lot of info on them. I don't know if it's because they're a newer style unit, if they've changed something or what. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. I mean, here's another thing I learned. I will show you about my Rude furnace, 90 plus achiever. Because of my flooding, what they have in behind this bottom panel here is they put on the very bottom the circuit board, and they're worth about $150 a shot, and even just the moisture was burning them up on me. So finally, when I got a new one, I actually moved it up here, put some standoffs into the return air duct, and that works perfect now. I've never had a problem since, not even a hiccup. So there's another little trick you could try if you're having issues with circuit boards in wet basements. Anyway, let me know if I gave you enough information on this hot water heater. It's an interesting unit, and there are ways to get around things, but there are no great resources on this. And for somebody like me that's a do-it-myselfer type, I get really frustrated. But like I say, if you're the right person, doing a bypass like this for temporary is great. I'll have to price up the sensor, see how much it's worth, and if it's not that expensive, maybe I'll get a second for a backup. And then the other thing I want to come up with is a way to mount this up off the ground a bit, and one of these days I'm going to have to just move everything up. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that, but yeah, that's the Honeywell controller on off switch. Here's your dial for resetting. Like I say, I'm pretty sure I turn it off all the way to very hot, turn it back on, flip down to low, back to hot, and I do that 3 times. So starting at hot, 1, 2, 3, and then usually you notice a difference or a change in the light. Then it's reset. This thing is a power vented unit, on off switch here, and then it's got a plug-in. So yeah, just make sure if you're doing anything to this effect that you are being perfectly safe, and I'm assuming that's why there's no real information out there. Who knows, maybe I'll put this up on YouTube and get in trouble for it or something. Who knows. Anyway, thanks for watching. Talk to you